I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending January the 16th, where it's evident now that fundamentals have very little influence on the cattle market. We saw that sharply lower cattle prices this week on fats and feeders both. Feeder cattle sold $8 to $20 lower, mostly $10 to $15, but the full decline was on your heavier weight cattle weighing over 800 pounds. Calf weights were a little more uneven. They were $10 lower up to $5 higher, and the only bright spots were really on your 5-weight steers in the Midwest and on your featherweight or peewee calves across the Gulf Coast there on the bottom end of your southeastern states. But just sharply lower cattle all the way across the board. You see me change the daily limits this week on their cattle contracts, with live cattle or fat cattle changing from $3 daily limit move to $4.50. Feeder cattle changed from $4.50, which we just got a few weeks ago. It went from $3 to $4.50 because the industry really wanted it. Now we've gone from $4.50 all the way up to $6.75 on a daily move. And that's going to change up the contract quite a bit. It's going to make it more liquid there. So hopefully it won't lock up or lock down the limit and kind of halt trading like we saw right before the holidays. It's also a better percentage of what the value of the product is and kind of more in line than what we were used to before the ranges got so blowed up with all the record prices last year. But at the same time, it's also a riskier move to get into the contract, especially if you're taking a long or short position. And it can really take somebody's head off. We're up to now where a 1 daily limit move on your feeder cattle represents $50 per head. On your fats, it's in the 60s somewhere, depending on what cattle you really are hedging there on your fat cattle weights, if you're taking them up over 1,400 pounds. But this week the buyers, or feeder cattle buyers, just fell out of love with cattle weighing from 800 to 1,000 pounds. And last week we saw an 800-pound steer pretty easily bring 215 around, or on the average around 215. If we look at that and we figure your cost of gains and your expenses getting those cattle where they need to go to get fed, it's going to take $400 a head to take that 800-pound steer up to a marketable weight, and we're figuring around 1,400 pounds to be good and fat there. And that just won't work. That'll take you up to over $2,100 on that fat steer, and it won't work if your fed cattle market is under $1.50. And we've had to move from the April that everybody loved hedging their cattle. We went to the June now, and it's a $6 discount to what April was, and closed this week at just under $146.50. So it just absolutely won't work. Those cattle won't hedge. So these cattle feeders had no option other than to just back off on what they were willing to give for those feeder cattle. Packers are trying to get out of the red. They've been working in the red there for, on and off for several months now. They're getting a little help with the box beef values. Box beef cutouts on the choice broke all-time record high this week at 263.83. That broke the most recent high, which was at the end of July there, right in the heart of the grilling season. So that's showing an awful strong market for your beef this cold, and not really a time when people are really into buying a whole lot of beef because a lot of people don't know how to cook beef if they don't go out on the back porch and do it on their grill, and right now those are froze up. So still a pretty strong market for your beef demand. Hub City livestock market there in Aberdeen, South Dakota, sold 2 loads of light 7-weight steers this week. Now they were non-hormone cattle at $2.50 a pound. And you know, in early December that wouldn't have been anything to brag about. That was kind of the market in the upper Midwest and northern plains right there. But that may be a price on 7-weight cattle that we don't see again for quite a while. Something that was a more practical top in Gordon, Nebraska. You had a load of 715-pound steers bring 238, and that's pretty close to the top you're going to see on par cattle. Now these cattle were good, all black, straight load, open-haired, really good cattle. Chronologically, they're still calves, of course, but you know, they've got a yearling look to them and really perform in the feedlot. Here at DVAuction, we're proud to have Gordon join us in our family of broadcasted livestock markets. Sits on the western Nebraska out there, and their motto is where the hard grass meets the sand hills, and the best damn cattle in the world. And very few people would argue about that. You know, a lot of these show stock guys go out to these commercial herds in Nebraska, and especially western Nebraska, and pick through there to find show calves, and that's just what they all look like. They're just peas in a pod, and they are the best damn cattle in the world out in that country. And guys really know how to breed them. They've got the genetics down. They know how to grow them. They know how to take care of their grass, and they really do a good job. Fat cattle this week, $6 to $7 lower, from 162 to 164.5. Averaged around 163 1/4. That's live basis. Dress basis sales were $8 lower, averaging right around 262. We kind of look for this market to level out some. The rebalancing that we talked about last week of these fund investments has kind of been done now, and they've got their portfolios kind of where they want them. Oil is really taking its part in pushing these cattle markets lower. It's a commodity, and oil has gone down so much, and that's a lot of what caused these funds to really move their money around a lot. But also at the same time, our gas is so much cheaper. We're seeing these consumers spend more time looking over the beef counter and backing off on the chicken and some of the cheaper proteins a little bit, and that's really picking up on our not necessarily the demand, but the beef sales there. But that pretty much wraps up your cattle market summary for this week. To check out this market and other information, check out DVAuction.com or the StockExchangeNews.com. And from a DVAuction home office here near Maysville, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.